I expected to engage more with community members since I was told that the project would be related to community development.
Before coming into this placement, my expectations were that I was going to learn collaborative relationship building skills with community members, and I also expected to learn how to advocate on behalf of community members.
I wanted to learn more about how the social services worked in my own community and also what services were available to members in my own community.
One major challenge for me has been the disparity between what we learned in school about community development and community engagement and what that has looked like in practice.
I'm an international student from Jamaica, so initially I remember getting the emails about what placement would be like. I googled the Toronto Strong Neighborhood Strategy and it listed the priority neighborhoods in Toronto, and according to the police reports they were really violent neighborhoods. So I remember being really scared initially. I think the really interesting part about having Google the neighborhoods and seeing the high crime rates was just the stigma and label that's often associated with directing or having different categories of neighborhoods. Ironically, it's something that I experience a lot having been from a developing country, and so it was really interesting to see how perceptions can change of a particular community simply because it has a label of being a priority neighborhood. We often don't think about how the things related to our research can actually stigmatize and oppress a particular sect of people.
Another challenge is accessibility to space and the consistency of always having access to space. In the first semester, I had space at Flemington Health Center, and in the second semester, that space was no longer available.
This was my first experience in the social service realm, and I found it surprising that I didn't have consistent supervision, although I had the opportunity to develop various team building and teamwork skills.
I think that really relates to the nature of community development work and the high turnover rates, the difficulty you can experience with communication. There will be times when you need to get information from different service providers and you won't be always able to get that information in the time period that you need. You should just be aware that being flexible in terms of different types of communication is going to be a tool that will really help you.
During this placement, I've learned there are a few characteristics that you need to learn in order to be successful. The first one, you have to be flexible. For example, you have to be flexible with the space, the schedule. Sometimes we have something to do in a day, but there's a meeting that we have to go on, so we need to go to a meeting first.
Another personality trait that you need for this placement is an interest in research. You're going to be conducting research about the communities that you're working in. You're also going to need to conduct research on the various networks you're going to be supporting throughout the placement. And finally, you'll also need to do research for your independent projects.
To succeed in this placement, you need to possess self-motivation skills, including taking initiative and working independently, because self-motivation requires you to ask for help when you need it and to also be clear about what your needs are.
This placement allows for individual creativity, where you can bring in your own passions and strengths to conduct projects that support community needs.
We must be critical of power relationships and structural issues to observe gaps in the community so that we can better come up with ideas to support our projects.
There are a lot of strengths that you gain from being in this placement. And the first thing I would say that was important was that you get the opportunity to network with people in this community. And specifically for me, I live in this community, so the opportunity to meet all different types of people and different types of agencies, what they do, who they support in my own community was very relevant. You get the opportunity to develop projects based on your own individual passions. So, you find something that you really think is important within a community and you get to run with that, you get to work with that and, be creative and do whatever you want with that idea. You get exposed to project development and project facilitation, and so we got hands-on experience with those two things.
I would say in this placement they're very flexible with time and space because they realize that you have other commitments such as like school assignments and work. My overall perception of community development changed when I came here because I thought it was mainly just building community directly with community members, and then when I got here I didn't interact with them directly. So I realized that community development has tons of different aspects that we're not often taught about, including administration or research, yet they're really important aspects of it.
An important thing to remember coming into this placement is that you're not here to support a specific agency or a specific group of people, but rather to support an entire network that deals with different community. What a network is just people from different agencies and different neighborhoods coming together to discuss issues that are common and uncommon within each other, and then coming to some solutions to those issues while having the support of a larger group.
From our barriers to space, we have learned to be adaptable, flexible, and to use new innovative communication skills.
Our position within this network and within this placement is almost like, as you would think about it, a volunteer's position. So I think about it, the analogy of like a grandfather clock. So the face of the clock is like a frontline worker in an agency. The inner mechanisms of the clock would be the policies, networks, the agencies working behind those sort of frontline workers. Our position would be almost like the grease between the gears, and even though the clock can work without that grease, we can help it work better.